Following Flavio's presentation, I'd like to share with you the clinical description and outcome of patients admitted in the MSF COVID Treatment Center of Herat. As part of the response project to the pandemic, MSF set up a treatment center that operated over 2 periods of a similar duration. The first one from end of June through the end of September 2020, and the second one from December to the 2nd of March of this year. Patients were referred from the triage point set up in the Herat Regional Hospital and the IDP clinic, as well as the mobile teams implemented by the Ministry of Health. The Shaidaye Hospital, supported by ADA and Afghan NGOs, included an ICU with mechanical ventilation capacity. Admission criteria to either facility was discussed and agreed upon with the Ministry of Health and differed between the 2 waves. During the first wave, patients moderately ill with risk factors or severely ill were admitted to the treatment center, while during the second wave, only severely ill patients were admitted, whether clinically suspected or confirmed by a lab test, and this for the 2 waves. Critically ill patients were hospitalized to the Shaidaye Hospital. The laboratory of the regional hospital were performing the COVID PCR test. The treatment center was an ICU of 32.
Le centre de traitement se compose d'une unité de soins intensifs de 32 lits, complètement gérés sous la responsabilité de MSF, des concentrateurs d'oxygène, thérapie à base d'oxygène conventionnelle et ventilation non invasive qu'on a utilisé notamment après la première vague. Les autres traitements comportaient des antibiotiques, des stéroïdes, stéroïdiens, anticoagulants, ainsi que d'autres traitements. L'hématologie comme test de labo, donc bilan sanguin, biochimie, électrocardiogramme également, radio thoracique. Et on pouvait faire ces radios à l'hôpital de Shaidaye.
Collected in a standardized manner and entered in a clinical database dedicated to COVID. A protocol was approved by both MSF and Afghan ERBs, and patients' consent was obtained to analyze their data. In this presentation, I'm describing the sociodemographic and clinical data, including comorbidities and complications, as well as treatment data and patients' outcome. 517 patients are described, 205 admitted during the first wave and 312 in the second. 60% were women, the median age was 60 years. No differences were observed in patients' characteristics between the 2 waves. Overall, 90% of the patients were tested for COVID, and 46% of the tested were PCR positive, and we observed a much lower positivity in patients of the second wave. The median delay from onset of symptoms to admissions was 7 days, similar for the 2 waves. Most patients reported cough, dyspnea, and fever. 25% reported ageusia, and 20% anosmia. On admission, 1/3 of the patients reported 1 comorbidity, and a second third reported more than 1. The most frequent ones being high blood pressure and chronic lung diseases. However, during hospitalization, additional comorbidities were identified in 108 patients, 68 of whom had already declared at least 1 comorbidity. High blood pressure and chronic lung disease remain the most frequent ones. On admissions, patient severity was assessed by the clinicians or by a level of oxygen saturation below 94%, the MSF threshold to define severity. During the first wave, 60% of patients had oxygen saturation below 94% on admission, and 50% were considered as severely ill by the clinicians. During the second wave, these two proportions have greatly increased up to 76 and 96%, and the shift in the proportion of severe patients reflect the change in admission criteria between the two waves. 75% of patients of the second wave received oxygen therapy. Most patients received conventional oxygen therapy. The pie chart displays the distribution of maximum oxygen flow delivered to patients, and about half of patients received 5 liters per minute or less as the maximum oxygen flow delivered. In both waves, a high proportion of patients received antibiotics and anticoagulants, while in the second wave, corticoids were more prescribed. As a result, 90% of patients in the second wave received the 3 types of medications, as compared to 60% in the first wave. Overall, 9% of patients with an oxygen saturation below 94% on admissions developed some complications, as opposed to 3% in less severe patients. Fewer complications were observed in patients admitted in the second wave, with 3%, compared to 13% in the first wave. This decrease is observed in all patients, regardless of severity. The most frequent complications were pneumonia, respiratory, and heart failure. And pneumonia is the complication that decreased the most during the second wave. The vast majority of patients were discharged in similar proportions in both waves. Few patients died in both waves, albeit a greater number of patients and severe patients in the second wave. A lower proportion of patients were transferred in the second wave, and those who were transferred in that second wave were more likely to be transferred to the Shaidahi Hospital, meaning ICU, than in the first wave. As a risk factor analysis will be difficult given the small number of deaths, we can look at the main patient's characteristics. Of the 8 deceased patients, all but one were tested positive for COVID. 5 were male. All were 55 years old or above, and 5 died within 4 days of admission. This column shows the proportion of saturation values below 94% during the hospital stay. Most patients have had an oxygen saturation below 94% during most of their hospital stay. The last saturation value was below 94% for 6 of the 8 patients. And the maximum oxygen flow delivered was 20 liters or more for 5 patients, 2 of whom received high-flow nasal oxygen therapy. Regarding comorbidities and complications, 6 patients had comorbidities, and often more than one, the most frequent being high blood pressure and chronic lung diseases. 5 had complications, the most frequent one being heart and respiratory failures. Implementing the clinical database in the context of the pandemic in Afghanistan has been a challenge. Monitoring acutely ill patients involves a large amount of data collection, and due to the high workload of the data team, not all routinely collected data are encoded. One objective of the database was to provide timely data to inform the project in terms of patient management and project monitoring, and this is not yet achieved. However, the database was able to provide good information on the results of MSF operations regarding the management of severely ill patients whether COVID suspected or confirmed. Though difficult, the implementation of the database was possible thanks to motivations at all levels on the field. It allowed to show that despite an increase in the number of patients and severe patients in the second wave, the proportion of discharged patients remained high, fewer complications were reported, and fewer patients were transferred, suggesting that the skills of staff have increased after the lessons learned during the first wave. The hospitalization has been an opportunity to diagnose comorbidities in many patients, particularly chronic illnesses. Does this reflect a lack of access to care? Are chronic illnesses neglected, or both? Data collected will allow to carry out more analysis to learn more about and improve patient care. Many thanks to the many people who contributed to the COVID clinical database, especially the MSF Afghan team. Thank you for your attention.
Merci.